Ever feel like you're just stuck? Like you're trying to make progress on something, a goal or a project, but it feels like every step forward is a struggle.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there. That feeling of hitting a wall when it comes to motivation is something everyone experiences.
And it's so frustrating. That's why in this deep dive, we're tackling motivation head on with, thankfully, some really practical strategies to help us break through those barriers.
It's interesting because we often think of motivation as this abstract thing, but the truth is there are actual concrete things we can do to cultivate it.
Right, like how do we actually get motivated when we need it, right?
Exactly. And that's where these, I guess you could call them life hacks come in. They're not magic, but they can make a real difference.
Love it. So, no magic wands here, but maybe some motivational dynamite. The first tip we're diving into is all about remembering your why.
Yes. Your why is like your North Star. It's the deeper reason behind what you're doing. Because let's be honest, when things get tough, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like when I decided, rather spontaneously, to train for that half marathon.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Those early morning runs, brutal,
Hmm.
but pushing through the exhaustion, the aches, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
It was remembering my why that got me out the door.
And that why is so personal,
It
right?
was. It was about proving to myself I could. That became my internal engine.
Exactly. And you've just touched on something so important, intrinsic motivation. It's that fire that burns from within, fueled by your values, your passions, your deepest desires.
And it's way more powerful than any external reward, right? Like finishing that race was amazing, but honestly, the real victory was knowing I'd pushed myself further than I thought possible.
Exactly. And here's a fascinating thing. Our brains are wired to crave that sense of accomplishment. When we tap into intrinsic motivation, we're actually tapping into our brain's reward system.
So we're hardwired to seek out those I did it moments.
Mm.
Okay, that makes so much sense. But what about when the goal itself feels completely overwhelming? Like, how do you even begin to tackle something that feels as daunting as, say, climbing Mount Everest?
Ah, that's where the next strategy comes in. Breaking down those massive tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. It's all about creating a roadmap to success, one step at a time.
Because staring up at the whole mountain can be paralyzing, right?
Mhm.
But focusing on just putting one foot in front of the other, that feels doable.
Exactly. It's like writing a book. If you sit down thinking you need to churn out 300 perfect pages, you'll likely freeze. But focusing on one chapter, one scene, even one paragraph at a time, suddenly it feels manageable.
And less intimidating, for
Yep.
sure. But there's more to it than just psychology, right?
Hmm.
Doesn't this strategy also tap into how our brains work?
Absolutely. Each small step we complete triggers a surge of dopamine, which is our brain's reward chemical. It's like our brain getting us a little high five saying, keep going, you're on a roll.
I'll take all the dopamine high fives I can get. But speaking of positive reinforcement, I've heard a lot about the power of visualization. Isn't that something athletes use a lot?
It is. And it's not just some woo woo concept. Visualization is a powerful tool that can actually rewire our brains for success.
Okay, so how does it work exactly? Is it like daydreaming, or is there more to it?
It's about creating a vivid, multisensory experience in your mind. Don't just see yourself achieving the goal, but feel it. What emotions are you experiencing? What sounds do you hear?
So like if my goal was to give an amazing presentation, I wouldn't just picture myself speaking confidently, but also imagine the feeling of the audience being engaged, maybe even hearing the sound of applause at the end.
Exactly. The more senses you engage, the more real it becomes in your mind, and the more powerfully you program your brain for that success. It's like creating a mental blueprint.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm definitely going to start incorporating visualization in my routine. So we've talked about the importance of our why, breaking things down and visualizing success. What about the role of other people in our motivation?
Ah, that's where the power of support comes in. We, as humans, are social creatures. We're wired for connection, and having a supportive network can make all the difference when it comes to staying motivated.
I completely agree. Knowing you've got people in your corner cheering you on can be incredibly motivating. I know I wouldn't have survived those half marathon training runs without my cheer squad.
And that support can take many forms. It might be a friend, family member, mentor, coach, or even an online community. The key is to find your people, those who uplift and inspire you.
And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Speaking of support, I think we all deserve a little celebration when we hit those milestones, no matter how small.
Yes, celebrating progress is essential. And, it actually has a scientific basis.
Oh, tell me more.
When we celebrate our wins, our brains release those feel-good chemicals again. It creates a positive feedback loop, reinforcing the behaviors that led to that success. It's like giving yourself positive reinforcement, which motivates you to keep going.
So it's not just about rewarding ourselves, it's about rewiring our brains for success.
Precisely. And those celebrations don't have to be huge. It's more about acknowledging and appreciating our efforts.
Exactly. Even small, everyday wins count. Whether it's treating yourself to your favorite coffee after a productive morning, sharing an accomplishment with a friend, or, doing a little victory dance in your living room, it all adds up.
I love that, a victory dance, because why not? It's about finding what feels good and makes you want to keep moving forward.
Exactly. And that's what we want you to take away from this deep dive. Remember, conquering challenges is a journey, not a destination. These strategies, they're your tools, your roadmap, your cheer squad, all rolled into one.
It's about experimenting, finding what works best for you, and then making those strategies a part of your life. Because ultimately, motivation isn't some mystical force, it's something we can learn to cultivate and strengthen.
So as you go about your day, think about this. What's one small step, even something that takes 5 minutes, that you can take today to move closer to a goal that matters to you? And then most importantly, how will you celebrate that win? Keep that question in your back pocket. Trust me, you've got this. Until next time, keep diving deep.